Every month, I go through all the latest e-commerce ad news and bring you only the things that actually matter for growing your store. And this month, there's one that honestly made me a bit angry. Google has been secretly switching some of your paused keywords back on, and most people have no idea it's happening. We've also got a new insight about AI chatbot traffic that I think is going to change the way a lot of store owners think about where their customers are coming from. Plus, Google finally gave you the ability to tell its AI what it's not allowed to say in your ad copy, which is something I've been waiting for. And there's a Google patent that, if it ever becomes a real product, could mean your customers never actually visit your website after clicking a result on Google. I'll explain what that means later on. I'm Daryl from Big Flare. I've been running Google Ads for e-commerce for over 18 years now, and I've helped generate over $150 million in revenue through Google Ads. So let me break down what actually happened this past month, what you need to do about it, and what you can safely ignore. Let's get into it. All right, let's start with the one that I think needs the most urgent attention. Advertisers have been reporting that Google Ads is re-enabling paused keywords through something called the Google Ads System Tool Low Activity Bulk Changes. Now, here's why this is such a big story. This is happening even to advertisers who have already turned off auto-apply recommendations. So even if you've gone into your settings and made sure Google can't auto-apply changes to your account, this system tool can still re-enable your paused keywords. That's what makes this different from the usual auto-apply issues we've talked about in the past. So this is actually a big deal, especially if you use paused keywords as a way to control your costs or manage seasonal spend. A lot of store owners will pause certain keywords during slower periods or after testing shows they don't convert. If those are quietly getting turned back on, your budget is leaking in places you're not even looking. Now, I haven't personally seen this in my accounts, but lots and lots of other advertisers have been reporting it, so it's absolutely worth checking in and having a check in your account. So here's what I'd recommend. Go into your change history, look for any keyword changes you didn't make over the past 60 days. And while you're in there, you might as well make sure auto-apply recommendations are switched off as well. I've done a full separate video on this topic where I walk you through exactly how to check for it and what to do about it, so I'll link that video in the description below if you want the step-by-step walkthrough. Okay, so here's something else that really caught my attention this month. New data from Search Engine Land shows that e-commerce traffic coming from ChatGPT is converting at rates 31% higher than non-branded organic search. And this isn't just one study. Airbnb's CEO Brian Chesky separately confirmed that AI chatbot referrals are converting at higher rates than Google search for their platform, and they're now building what they call an AI native experience to capitalize on that. Now, why is this conversion rate so much higher? Well, think about it from the customer's perspective. When someone types a product query into ChatGPT, they've usually already done the initial research, and they're asking something specific like, what's the best running shoe for flat feet under 150? By the time ChatGPT sends them to your store, they're much further along in the buying journey than someone who's just casually browsing. They've basically pre-qualified themselves. And here's the scale that makes this matter. OpenAI confirmed that ChatGPT now has 900 million weekly active users. That's not a niche experiment anymore, that's a massive channel. Now, here's what I'd recommend you do. Go into your Google Analytics, look at your referral traffic, and see if you're getting any visits from ChatGPT or other AI platforms. You might be surprised. And even if the volume is small right now, knowing that it converts better than your organic search traffic tells you something important about where things are heading. I don't think you need to panic and completely rethink your strategy today, but I do think this is the kind of data point that should be on your radar as you plan for the rest of 2026. Now, speaking of Google, this next announcement is one I'm genuinely excited about. Google has rolled out text guidelines inside AI Max to all advertisers globally. This was in limited beta since September last year, but now everyone has access. Here's why this matters. If you've been running Performance Max or AI Max for search campaigns, you've probably noticed that Google's AI sometimes writes ad copy that's not exactly what you'd want representing your brand. Maybe it mentions a competitor's name, maybe it uses language that feels off-brand, or maybe it makes claims that you would never approve. Until now, you had very limited control over that, but now you've got two specific controls. First, term exclusions. You can add up to 25 words or phrases that you want completely blocked from your AI-generated ad copy. So if there's a competitor name you never want appearing in your ads or a word that doesn't fit your brand, you just add it to the list. Second, messaging restrictions. This is even more interesting. You can add up to 40 natural language instructions about concepts or styles to avoid. So you could say something like, like never imply our products are the cheapest option, or avoid using slang or informal language. This works across both Performance Max and AI Max for search campaigns, which covers most of the places where Google's AI is writing copy for you. Google's ad liaison, Ginny Marvin, confirmed this on LinkedIn, and her post got 114 reactions, which tells me that this was something a lot of advertisers were waiting for. My advice is to go set these up today. Even if you haven't noticed problems with your AI-generated copy yet, it's worth putting some guardrails in place now if you are using this kind of automation. Think about your brand's tone, any terms you'd never want in your ads, and any claims you'd want to avoid. Spend 10 minutes setting up your exclusions and restrictions, and you'll save yourself a lot of headaches down the line. And actually, before we get to the next story, if you do want to stay on top of changes like these as they happen, you should sign up for my free weekly newsletter. Every week, I break down the most important Google Ads news and share what I'd actually recommend doing about it. It's completely free, link is in the description below this video. Alright, let's keep going. So this next one is a change that could quietly affect a lot of campaigns, and I don't think enough people are talking about it. Google announced that it's changing how budget pacing works for campaigns that use ad scheduling. Now, if you're not familiar with ad scheduling, it's also called day parting. It's where you tell Google to only show your ads during certain hours of the day or certain days of the week. A lot of businesses use this. So maybe you've noticed your store converts better during business hours, so you schedule your ads to run from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Or maybe you turn ads off on weekends because your customer service team isn't available. The change Google is making affects how your daily budget gets distributed across those scheduled time windows. So previously, Google would pace your budget based on the full 24-hour day and then try to concentrate delivery during your scheduled hours. The new behavior changes that pacing logic, which means the amount you spend during each scheduled window could shift. Now, I'll be honest, Google hasn't been incredibly detailed about exactly how the new pacing works. What I can tell you is that if you're using ad scheduling and you've got your budget dialed into a specific rhythm, you should go check your campaigns over the next few weeks. Here's what I'd recommend. Go into your campaigns that use ad scheduling. Look at your spend by hour and by day over the next couple of weeks, and then compare it to your historical patterns. If you notice your spend shifting to different time slots than usual, that's likely this change taking effect. You might need to adjust your schedules or your bids to compensate. Now, it's not a massive panic situation, but it is something to keep an eye on. All right, next up, let's talk about Microsoft Ads for a moment. Microsoft Advertising has launched self-serve negative keyword lists, and if you're running any campaigns on Microsoft, this is actually a pretty big deal. Up until now, if you wanted to manage shared negative keyword lists on Microsoft Ads, it was a painful process. You basically had to go through support or use workarounds that were far more complicated than they needed to be. Google Ads has had shared negative keyword lists for years, so the fact that Microsoft didn't have this was genuinely frustrating. But now you can create shared lists of up to 5,000 negative keywords and apply them at the campaign or account level, all through the interface without needing to contact support. And here's something worth noting. The negative match types work the same way for Performance Max campaigns on Microsoft as they do for traditional search campaigns. So your negative keywords will actually be respected in PMax, which is a nice touch. Microsoft Ads liaison Neva Hopkins confirmed that this was driven directly by advertiser feedback and support tickets, so credit to Microsoft for actually listening there. If you're running Microsoft Ads, my advice is simple: go set up your negative keyword lists now. If you've already got negative keyword lists in Google Ads, take those same lists and apply them to your Microsoft campaigns. It'll take you maybe 15 minutes and it'll prevent a lot of wasted spend on irrelevant searches. All right, last one for this month, and this is the one I want to end on because I think it's worth thinking about. A Google patent was recently surfaced by Search Engine Land that describes a system where users clicking on ads would be taken to AI-generated landing pages instead of your actual website. And let me say that again because it's important. The patent describes Google creating landing pages on the fly, dynamically generated by AI to match the user's specific intent, and showing those instead of the page on your website that you've designed and optimized yourself. Now, before anyone panics, I want to be clear. A patent is not a product announcement. Companies patent ideas all the time that don't necessarily become real features. But this one is worth paying attention to because it fits a pattern we've we've been seeing from Google. Think about it. First, we had Performance Max, where Google takes control of your targeting, your bidding, and your creative. Then AI Max, where Google writes your ad copy for you as well. Now there's a patent where Google would control the post-click experience as well. And if this ever becomes a real feature, it raises serious questions. What happens to your conversion tracking if the customer lands on a Google-generated page? And what about your brand experience? What about the product information, the trust signals, the reviews, the design elements that you've spent your time building on your site? Now, my take on this is that even if Google never ships this exact feature, it tells you something about the direction they're thinking. The more of the customer journey that Google controls, the more dependent you become on their platform. And that's why I always tell store owners to invest in things Google cannot take away from you. Your email list, your customer data, your brand, and your own website experience. Those are the assets that protect you no matter what Google decides to do next. So keep building those and keep an eye on this story as it develops. And speaking of making sure your Google Ads setup is as strong as possible, regardless of what Google changes to all Performance Max campaigns for your store, I've got a full PMax setup tutorial that walks you through everything from campaign structure to asset groups to bidding strategies. It's linked right up here. Click on that and I'll see you over there. Good luck with your campaigns, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.